Welcome to the Quinta, and today I'm actually going to talk to you a little bit about electricity and how we get it here. And I'm also planting some trees again. That'll do. You're probably starting to think I'm a little bit obsessed with planting trees. And actually, I guess you're probably right. If you haven't seen my video on carbon capture, then I invite you to go and have a look at that. Because we're being told that carbon dioxide is the worst thing ever. Well, okay. That's up to you. I'm not going to, knock people for their beliefs. But if you want to capture carbon, one of the best ways to do it is, of course, to plant a tree. I did find out something very interesting the other day. Apparently, if you have a wildfire, get this. Although it gives off tons and tons of acrid smoke and CO2 and everything like that, guess what? They don't actually count that as carbon emissions. I suppose they can't tax a wildfire, but actually, the funny thing is, or rather the sad thing is, about the wildfires here, less than 1%, and this is Guardia Nacional de Republicana, GNR statistics, so official statistics, less than 1% of wildfires in Portugal over the last 10 years have had a natural origin. Everything else has been mainly negligence or arson. Anyway, let's go and have a look at the electricity bill, because I think you might be slightly interested in what it says. Just before I take you up, you see these have been grafted. You want to have the graft facing north, away from the sun, so that you haven't got the full sun on it. Apparently. Anyway, that's what I do. Hi, welcome to the caravan. I wanted to go through something here with you today, and this is actually my electricity bill. And the reason that I want to go through it is I think there are some bits and pieces which are quite interesting, and you might want to compare them to your own bill. Where are we? For the month, and it's been the winter, so we have used more electricity because, of course, we've got the fan heaters on occasionally when it's freezing cold. Our bill is 79.32, so that's in euros, but we'll pretend it's pounds. So just under 80 quid a month for electricity. And you might be thinking, gosh, that's cheap. And compared to the UK, I think it probably is. But there's a big reason for that. And that is the standing charge. Because if I look at the standing charge, which is the access to the network, it's called on these bills, it is 12 cents per day. There is tax on top of that. There seems to be tax on absolutely everything nowadays. But if you compare that to the UK average, which I think is about 53 pence a day, just to literally have a meter installed, you'll see that a large amount of your bill is actually going to the companies, their profits, without you even turning on a single light switch in the morning. And we hear a lot at the moment about the cost of living crisis. And I have touched on previous videos on how I think that it's more of a cost of profiteering crisis than anything else. You might want also to have a look at the price per kilowatt. Here, the first 100 kilowatts, you actually get a slightly lower tax rate. It's 6% VAT as opposed to 23%. And so we're paying 187.187 euros per kilowatt. I think that the costs, if you do look across Europe, they're broadly similar. What makes the difference, of course, is the taxation and the standing charges. So if you're going to rise up and mention anything to your electricity supplier, I think asking them to justify that standing charge is going to be really important. But why I actually wanted to come onto the electricity bill is it says on it, where does my electricity come from? And I'm told by my bill that my carbon emissions for my electricity, what I have consumed, is 0. So that's interesting. And then it goes to say, well, it's all come from renewable energy. We've got up on the hills, we've got hundreds, literally hundreds of wind turbines. Here we are up at the wind turbines, and you can see that they're not actually turning at the moment. And this is what we mean by intermittent power. You need to keep the lights on to have an alternative generation source, because as you can see, no wind, no electricity from the wind turbines. I wanted to talk about EBITDA, the earnings before interest, taxation, depreciation and amortization, and how it relates to whether this energy is actually 100% renewable or not. The important part here, I think, is going to be amortization. So what you're doing with amortization is you are slowly writing off the cost of your investments. Now, these wind turbines, they have a projected life of round about 10 years. And obviously, it takes quite a lot of energy to produce a wind turbine. So why do I mention EBITDA? Why do I mention the amortization? Well, we appear to be being told that this is 100% renewable energy, and the output in terms of carbon is 0. Well, that can't really be the case unless it's written off in the first year. And that is a weird way to do it. You wouldn't do it in accounting terms, so why do it in this way? Unless it is to disguise the fact that these things do actually require quite a lot of capital and energy investment to produce them in the first place. Are you good? Can't actually see any of the wind turbines today, they're up in the fog. But maybe we can see some over the other side of the valley. There we go. On a good day you can see well over 100. How can my electricity be 100% renewable when we have got in Portugal something like 23% being produced by coal, 12.5% being produced by natural gas, oil 3.2%, and so on? If they are burning over a third of fossil fuels, presumably because the wind doesn't blow all the time, the sun doesn't actually shine all the time, they need to support it, because of course there are fluctuations in the production. How can I be told that my electricity is 100% green. I think it's a feel-good thing. Because if I look at my bill and I think, oh, I'm not giving out any carbon, yeah, wonderful.
No wind, no electricity from the wind turbines. So if I'm seeing on my electricity bill that I am getting 100% of my power from renewables, yeah, you can see why I'm thinking maybe that's not entirely correct.
If we look at the world production of electricity, Portugal actually does come out pretty well, because as a whole, the world was use 2% wind, 15% hydro, nearly 16%, which isn't bad at all actually. When you think about it, solar is a pitiful 0.3% of global production.
So, I'm not knocking the idea of wind power or of the alternative forms of generation, but we do need to think about whether we are kidding ourselves here. All of these renewable energy sources do need extra capacity to back them up. We need a relatively constant supply of electricity. And the problem with the variable nature of the renewables is that we would be having brownouts, blackouts and so forth on a fairly regular basis if they were our sole source of power. So you might have for example, the scenario where you have a still cold winter night. So no wind, no solar. You are likely at that stage going to want to have some electric heating on. Yeah, you've got to have the backup. So there we go, that's it for today. I've got another 9 trees in the ground, and I hope that my little rant about electricity was interesting. I do suggest that if you feel like it, you can phone up your own electricity supplier and ask why you are paying 5-6 times more per day standing charge. What's their justification for it? Personally, I can't see it. Anyway, take care. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Oh yeah, like, subscribe, comment.
You in your favourite spot, are you?